What band are you on down there, Dick?
We're on 20.
On 20 CW?
Right.
Yeah, have you heard many of the stations, any of the other club stations for this? George, what is your call, George?
K1CG.
It's Coast Guard, right?
Yeah.
And you are a former Coast Guard operator, shipboard?
Yes.
Yeah, could you give me just a little background on what you did when you entered the Coast Guard, radio school and all?
Well, I came in the Coast Guard in 1949. Went to radio school in 1950 after spending a year on the deck force on a weather ship. After that, as a matter of fact, Bob and I were both in radio school at the same time down there in Groton, Connecticut, and I went aboard another weather ship, the Casco, out of Boston. I was on her for a couple of years, and I went on to another weather ship, the Humboldt, another year, and after that I went to the radio station in Marshfield, NMF, for about a little over a year, and we operated at the International Ice Patrol Station, NIK. We used to work 25,000 messages a month for the merchant ships. They came ashore again to a comm center. This time it was up in the JFK building in Boston, and I stayed there until I retired in 1969.
How much of your operation was CW as compared to phone and all the time you were in the Coast Guard?
Virtually all of the operation was CW. We didn't do any radio telephony, as we used to call in the old days. Even the shore stations like NMF had these. Yeah. These transmitters here, they had 861 in the final, big tetrodes. Well, I'm sure it's still in there. Yeah, you can see the old bottle there. These things, we never even bothered. I don't know if we had spares aboard, because they just run forever.
Really?
She had three of these 860s, an audio oscillator, and the MO and an IPA. But anyways, these old rigs were just superb. They ran and ran and ran, never failed.
What frequency, Judge?
These 500 kilocycles.
500.
Yeah. And, they had detents so you could fast tune them, just shift them around. And these detents here. So the operator really all he had to do was, aside from the master oscillator, he had to remember the master oscillator. And this, you had a chart over here to tell you. All of these old transmitters had MOPA type transmitters. On the weather ships, we had 450 feet of wire between the two sticks. And we used to have a massive relay that was modified. The transmitter was modified. We had a massive Price relay, Price Brothers relay. And we used to use the antenna for break-in. We used to be able to receive off the same antenna we were transmitting on. You know, so it really was a marvelous piece of equipment. They replaced it with a modern transmitter. They had to put 3 of them aboard to replace one. It was a rock-bound transmitter, the later one, but this transmitter, anybody that's ever used it will swear his life on this transmitter.
Yeah. And what was the average speed that you'd operate at, CW speed in the Coast Guard, when you were handling all the traffic?
Most of the traffic was weather messages, and normally it would be in the range of 18 to 20 words a minute. There were some people that would go faster, but I don't think you'd see any speeds exceeding 30 words a minute.
Yeah.
If you were copying press sometimes, that would run up a little over 30 words a minute, depending on how much press they had.
Did you use a bug or a hand key?
Virtually all weather messages were sent with the bugs, originals. On the weather ships, it was hard to hold them down the operating positions, or the seas were so violent that a lot of this stuff would be. The bug that I had suction cups for the feet to hold it down the position, and a lot of times you couldn't use a bug. Sometimes you'd have to use a hand key if it was that rough. You know?
Yeah.
The typewriters were the same way. We'd have to wind up the springs on the carriage returns to a much higher degree to pull the carriages back, because the seas were constantly up and down. You know, everything was Bolted down. Actually, we worked more CW on 2 meters when we shoot the breeze back and forth.
On the Plymouth repeater?
Yeah, on the Plymouth repeater.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get much CW, and otherwise, it's almost nil.
Yeah. Bob, how about you, Bob? You were in the Coast Guard also, right? You're a retiree radio operator?
Oh yeah, I started out in the Navy, 43 to 47, as a signalman. And, well, I came in the Coast Guard in 49, and I was on deck for a while, and I used to stop in the radio shack. And,
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the radioman used to say, hey, Bob, go to radio school, you'll have it made. You know the code already. So off I went, and my career sort of paralleled George's, except I never had any time in the comms center. I was on 5 weather ships, and the old Evergreen, we called it the Ever Gone. Came time to go ashore. I went to NMF, located in Marshfield, Massachusetts. That's Coast Guard Radio Boston. And it was a break from going to sea. And that was my last duty station there. And I never had a ham license or anything for years and years. But back in the mid-50s, I was going to get a ham license, and I studied for it, and I got sidetracked somehow or other. You know,
Yeah.
this happens in life. And by gosh, my friend George, who's right here behind me, well, old Coast Guard friend, he's been after me for years to get a ham license, and oh, not quite 2 years ago, I finally did it. And I'm having a ball.
And I understand you have a unique call sign, right?
Yes, I do. My good friend Dave Riley told me the call sign W1NMF was open. And where I'm an old NMF hand, more than once stationed there, and that was my last duty station. I was the radio man in charge. I love the Coast Guard. I loved the Navy when I was in it. I went lobster fishing for 23 years after that, so that was a long way from pounded brass.
So you finally get back to it. How old were you when you got your license?
75.
75.
Yeah.
Did you have to pass the 20 words a minute?
No, it's been less than 2 years now.
So you only had to
I
pass the
guess I
5.
could have passed that.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
the 20 words a minute.
But you still get on the bands, right? 40 meters in CW?
I get on, yeah, I get on too often. When I first got my license, I was out trying to get a little DX, and my first experience in the ham bands after I got my license was with a transceiver that George built, an old Heath kit, a little 5-watt CW only transceiver, and he came down the house and we set it up there, and he lives in the next town over in Pembroke, roughly 10 miles, George, or something, from my house. And while he was going home to turn his rig on, he gave me a call, and so I could make a transmission as a ham. Well, I heard a guy on there, CW, and I answered him. I answered his call, and by gosh, he answered my call. He came right back, and that was my first. It was a guy down in the Great Smoky Mountains down there in Georgia.
Yeah.
And I was quite thrilled. It was a little tiny transceiver, about so big,
QRP.
Yep, and it was 5 watts, and I was really thrilled with that. And then another good friend loaned me a little larger transceiver, which was about this big, much different than the things that we used back in the old days.
Yeah.
For 100 watts, you'd have a transmitter that looked about as big as a refrigerator.
Yeah.
But I've been having a good time on the ham bands, and what a way to go in my old age. And I've met more friends, that have been hams for many, many years. And it's like the computer. I talked to old Coast Guard friends on there that have been hams for many years, some CW, some phone, and it's just been fun.
Yeah.
So I hope I keep on banging the key and saying a few words to everybody.
Yeah, well, we hope you do. We hope you do too, Bob.
Yeah, that's from W1NMF.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.